fracture targeted, worldwide supply chains under threat. Gulf supply disruptions threaten oil and LNG for China and India, driving global prices higher. As war rages in West Asia, Republic brings you a report from inside the war zone. America says it's a small price to pay for fighting the Iranians. Israelis say that it is a big achievement that the repressive regime in Iran has been defeated. But what's the human cost of this entire war? Now, as far as India is concerned, more than 1,000 sailors have been trapped in one of the world's most volatile maritime corridors. We'll come to that in a short while from now, but I want to first focus on what's the current situation. In fact, as far as Israelis are concerned, they say their objectives are far from over. Joining us tonight on This Is Exclusive is Israeli Prime Minister's Office spokesperson, Mr. David Mencer. Mr. Mencer, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. I want to straight away begin by asking you, the Americans are saying that it is a small price to pay for fighting the Iranians. There is also some reports emerging that the Americans aren't very happy with the targets that have been chosen by Israel. Refineries have been targeted in Tehran. A school has been targeted in Minab. Mr. Mencer, what's the objective here?
Well, good to be with you. I can share with you very clearly our objectives. They are firstly to remove the nuclear threat, to ensure that the Iranian regime can never again obtain nuclear weapons. We will not allow a regime that chants death to Israel to possess nuclear weapons. And on that, we are side by side with our American partners on this, because Iran shouts death to Israel, death to America, and we will not let that regime have nuclear weapons. Next, of course, we want to destroy Iran's war machine. We're severely degrading Iran's ballistic missiles, military infrastructure, and terror command infrastructure as well. We're dismantling their regime machinery of terror, missile by missile, command center by command center. And lastly, of course, to break the regime's ability to threaten us. Fundamentally, we're weakening the terror regime in Tehran so it can no longer threaten Israel, no longer threaten this region, and no longer threaten the free world. And let me say from the outset as well that no Indian nationals should be harmed by this regime. It is a war crime if Indian sailors are being targeted. They must not be targeted. They must be safe. Israel believes very, very clearly in the relationship with India. As you know, your Prime Minister just visited our country just a week ago. There was not a dry eye in the house in this country when Prime Minister Modi spoke to us. Indians are loved dearly in this country, and Iran would do well to listen to my voice. Do not harm Indians in the region.
Mr. Mencer, I'll come to that in a short while from now. I want to put the spotlight on some of the major criticism that your country and America is facing at this point in time. The human cost of this entire war. At the end of the day, it seems that you're not only targeting military infrastructure in Iran, it seems civilian infrastructure has also been hit. Keeping that in mind, would you not then agree that somewhere down the line, the lines are now getting blurred? It is no longer about the original objective of perhaps making this entire regime handicapped, but they are far from being handicapped right now.
Well, let me correct you there, because the US and Israel, our partnership has done everything in its power to target this war directly at military and regime targets. No civilians have been targeted. No civilians are ever targeted by our two countries. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Just today, ballistic missile fire from Iran has killed 2 here in Israel. They were fired into the center of a town. There were no military bases, no police stations, no military targets in the area whatsoever. I joined the Prime Minister at the town of Bet Shemesh just last week, where we visited a synagogue which was hit again by a ballistic missile. There were 9 people killed in that hit, all of them civilians. That is the difference between us. I must ask you and our friends in India not to fall for the Iranian propaganda. There are no civilians are being targeted in our operation, but the regime itself is being heavily targeted. We've achieved many major operational successes against Iran. Our Air Force has achieved significant aerial superiority over Iran, and we're striking targets across the country, including Tehran, but never do we target civilians.
Mr. Benser, is that the case? Because I'm not too sure whether if you can see our screen right now, because some images that came in from a city called Minab, and there is a global hue and cry about the fact that a school was hit by an Israeli missile. And you're saying that it is an Iranian propaganda, but there is no evidence that even you or your ally Americans are putting across that this was perhaps a military infrastructure in Minab that has been targeted. I want to show those pictures right now, the pictures that came in from Minab, where a school was allegedly hit by an Israeli missile.
I can fundamentally share with you that Israel never targets a school. In that latest occurrence that happened, President Trump has said it is not clear. Israel knows for sure that it wasn't even operating in that area. And none of us should be under any illusions that the Iranian regime are very adept at propaganda. That's the image which they want to put out there. It's the same image which their proxy Hamas tried to put out there as well. In contrast, thousands of military strikes have been targeted by our defense forces. Military infrastructure, air defenses, weapons transfer to Iranian proxies such as Hezbollah. Israel now has the freedom to strike any target in Iran that threatens our security, but we will never, ever target civilians. And the contrast could not be clearer, because that's precisely what the Iranians are doing. In Dubai, where they targeted a hotel, and in other parts of the Gulf, where they've targeted civilian areas. Our campaign is against the Iranian regime and not against the Iranian people. And all of us should have our eyes wide open to that fact, because the Iranian regime are adept.
Mr. Mensah, are you in a position to see the picture that I'm putting out right now? Can you see the picture?
Yes, I can see that picture, but I also know...
This picture is of those graves in the city of Minab. Are you saying that this is the Iranian propaganda?
Look, there is no free press in Iran, which means that the Iranian regime controls every single image which comes out of that regime. So all of us should take with a large pinch of salt anything which comes out from the Iranian regime. Now, an investigation has taken place into that occurrence, and I can tell you categorically that Israel was not in the area, and the Americans have said this is most likely a misfired Iranian missile. That is what President Trump has said. That is what Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has said. The Iranian people are certainly not our target. Indeed, 80% of the Iranian people are against this regime. So this might be the new line of attack from Iran. Might be the area where they think they can win some international support. But every image which comes out of Tehran right now or out of Iran is cleared by the Iranian regime. But we're working hard to take that regime apart for the sole purpose of opening a door that the Iranian people can walk through and grab hold of freedom.
I want to then ask you with regards to Mujtaba Khamenei. Is he a primary target now for the Israelis and the Americans?
Look, any replacement with Ayatollah as the part of their name is simply not an option. We haven't taken this action to replace one Ayatollah, a fundamentalist Islamo-fascist leader, for another one. Indians must be given the Iranians must be given the opportunity to walk through to freedom, to take their own destiny into their own hands. Our fight is with the tyrannical regime in Tehran, and we're not going to replace one fanatical leader with another fanatical leader. You know, these Islamic fundamentalists...
Mujtaba remains the primary target of this entire operation, because many would then argue that if we were basically talking about a regime change hasn't happened. Mujtaba has now taken over, and now as the principal spokesperson of the Israeli Prime Minister's office, are you saying that Mujtaba is a clear target of the Israelis?
I'm saying that very clearly our objective is to create an opportunity for the Iranian people to fight for a better life, and it is up to the Iranian people who they choose as their leader. 80% of them are against the Ayatollah regime. 80% of them are against the Islamofascism. And it's the same Islamic fundamentalism, whether in Jerusalem or in India. And that is why there is such a close relationship between our two leaders. It's so close because both Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Netanyahu say the same thing. They said they have a zero tolerance towards Islamic fundamentalism. And that's what we're trying to give to the people of Iran. We're opening a door, maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but a door whereby the Iranian people can walk through and grab hold of freedom and have a better life for themselves and bring peace to this entire region.
Mr. Benso, thank you very much for joining us on This Is Exclusive. I'm looking forward to you joining our editor-in-chief, Arnab Goswami, in a short while from now. Thank you very much. Now, more than 1,000 sailors trapped in one of the world's most volatile maritime corridors. As the West Asia conflict intensifies, 36 Indian-flagged vessels with nearly 1,109 sailors on board are currently stranded across the Persian Gulf region, unable to move due to rising hostilities and disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical oil shipping routes in the world. The vessels are now scattered across several high-risk maritime zones. According to shipping data and government monitoring, 12 ships are positioned in the Gulf of Oman, while 24 vessels are stalled west of the Strait of Hormuz, effectively caught near the narrow choke point connecting to the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. Additional vessels remained near regional ports, 2 near Qatar, 3 near Kuwait, 2 around Dubai, and 1 close to Iranian waters, all waiting for safe passage. Now, as military tension continue to disrupt the navigation in the region. Now, the situation has emerged after escalating military confrontation between United States of America, Israel, and Iran, which has severely disrupted the commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. As you can now see on your screens, we have put out the details of how Indian seafarers are stuck. A corridor, that is the Strait of Hormuz, that normally carries nearly 1/5 of the world's oil trade. With naval deployments increasing, attacks have been reported on commercial vessels in nearby waters. Shipping companies have halted transit through the strait, forcing tankers and cargo ships to either anchor in the open waters or delay voyages indefinitely. Now, one such vessel that has been stuck is what we are now going to play out, and the responses that are basically coming in for what is happening on the ground. Now, for the sailors on board, the crisis is deeply personal. Many seafarers, including Indian crew members, have reportedly reached out to authorities seeking assistance and clarity on evacuation plans. Crews remain confined to ships in tense waters where navigation risk and military activity continue to rise. Now, let me take you through one such report from a vessel called MV Manali, which is currently stranded near Bandar Abbas port in Iran with 20 Indian nationals and 2 foreign nationals on board. Crew members have in fact released a video stating that the ship is presently anchored near the port and that bombing is taking place in the surrounding area. In the video, the sailors expressed fear for their safety and urgently appealed for the immediate rescue and assistance. The crew continues to request help from the government of India, urging authorities to intervene and ensure the safe evacuation from the region. Take a look at this report.
नमस्कार, आज 9 मार्च हो गया है और अभी भी वहाँ पे काम चल रहा है और लगातार मिसाइल चल रही है। अभी नई बार से 2 डुबो दिए हैं और इसमें काफी आ रहा है। और डीजे शिपिंग बोले कंपनी बोली डीजे शिपिंग अभी बोलते यार 3 मार्च से 9 मार्च हो गया है, आज तक कुछ भी नहीं हो पाया है। मैं यही रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा हमें यहाँ से सेफ प्लेस पे ले चले। हम लोग मोटर वेसल मनाली के क्रू हैं और 20 इंडियन हैं और अभी हम बंदर के पास एंकरेज पे हैं और हमारी यही रिक्वेस्ट है, यहाँ पे बमबारी हो रही है, हमें सीख से रेस्क्यू करने की कृपा करें, सीख से रेस्क्यू करें। जय हिंद, जय भारत। लगातार बमबारी हो रही है, नेवी शिप को मार दिया, फिर से मार दिया नेवी शिप को। हमारी कंपनी कोई सुनवाई नहीं कर रही, बताओ बमबारी हो रही है, लगातार सुन रहे हैं आप सब, देख लीजिए। ये देख लीजिए हमारा सिलेक्ट माइंड है।
Well, during this entire period of the war, very little is essentially known from what's happening inside Iran. Now, as the war in West Asia basically intensified, the impact is now being felt inside Tehran, where residents are attempting to carry on with their daily life, even as the threat of attacks continues to loom. Fresh satellite imagery shows significant damage at the Mehrabad International Airport, with reports indicating that at least 16 aircraft were targeted and destroyed in the strikes. Now, despite the escalating conflict, shops remain open in parts of the Iranian capital. Residents are stocking up on essential supplies. But the war has also taken a heavy toll on healthcare infrastructure, with Iranian officials claiming that several hospitals have been hit during the fighting. Now, amid the uncertainty and growing fears of further escalation, doctors and residents in Tehran say they are determined to continue their lives, daily lives, even as the conflict unfolds around them. Now, this is quite significant because this is for the first time that an Indian news network has actually got access inside Iran to get you a sense of what's really happening. Because the West essentially wants you to believe that perhaps there is a growing support for the Western agenda. But is that the case? Take a look at this report.
As the war in West Asia intensifies, with major impacts in the national capital of Iran, millions trapped inside Tehran try to maintain their daily routines amid the uncertainty.
Since we are living in a chaotic region for half a century, in a country which is not stable, either the economy or the political conditions. We have been saving some essential needs, like first water, rice. These are the main food we are in need of. Then spaghetti, pasta, some canned goods, and what else? These are the things can keep us at least for 2 weeks, and we hope this critical situation wouldn't last longer.
Even as the country is under attack, some shops still remain open.
والا اوایلش شاید یه مقدار هم ترس و اینا بود که حالا کم بیاد و اینا، ولی خدا رو شکر هر سری اومدیم هر چیزی خواستیم بوده. تا حالا پیش نیومده حالا چیزی بخوایم نباشه. هم روغن بوده، حالا شاید یه تایمای کوتاهی بوده که نباشه، ولی اکثر وقتا بوده. برنج بوده، برنج می‌خواستیم، برنج آوردن سری. حالا اقلام دیگه بوده، ماکارونی و اینا، شاید یه تایمای کم شده ولی اومده بردیم چون خونمون هم نزدیکه. خدا رو شکر اومدیم سر وقتش بوده همه چیز.
Even as the citizens try to maintain some amount of normalcy, the country remains under attack. Missiles, drones reducing the country to rubble. Hospitals targeted in strikes.
And so many others gathered here today to condemn the attacks conducted by U.S.-Israeli forces on this hospital. Of course, I have to add, this wasn't the only hospital targeted by Israel and the U.S. Some other hospitals were also attacked in recent days in Tehran and some other cities in Iran.
Doctors and nurses gathered in Iran's capital to say hospitals must remain protected spaces during times of conflict.
در راستای تجارب گذشته این رژیم‌های مهاجم به هیچ کدوم از کنوانسیون‌های بین‌المللی و معاهدات انسانی پایبند نیستند و پیام ما به دنیا این است که اگر زودتر اقدام عملی برای مهار این خوی در واقع درنده خویی اینها انجام ندن، همه بشریت قربانی اینا خواهد شد. فکر نکنم فقط کشور ما قربانی این نوع در واقع وحشیگری خواهد شد، چون که بیمارستان‌های ما، کادر بهداشت و درمان ما، مجروحین ما، بیماران ما قربانی این عدم پایبندی این رژیم ها شدند. بالای 20 از مراکز درمانی و بیمارستان ها مورد تهاجم قرار گرفته. بیش از 10 نفر از کادر بهداشت درمان ما در طی این یک هفته شهید شدند.
Despite concerns about safety, many doctors say that they will continue treating their patients.
و ما هم میدونیم که روزی ممکنه هدف قرار بگیریم و هیچ ترسی از امثال نتانیاهو و ترامپ و امثال اونها نداریم. محکم در جای خودمون واسطادیم، از مملکت خودمون، از کیان خودمون، از جمهوری اسلامی با اقتدار دفاع میکنیم.
For most residents, the situation remains uncertain. While some continue preparing for the worst, others are simply trying to maintain their routines, hoping the conflict will resolve soon.
Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This is Exclusive.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
13,000 placements last year. At Amity, we are committed to nurturing passionate, hardworking and proactive professionals.